What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of The Real Heroes Show. You got Cory, Nick, and Shane here with you, and in this video, we are going to review, break down, and talk lots of spoilers on the new 007 film, No Time to Die. We're going to do a little bit of non-spoiler up front, just for those who haven't seen the film yet that wanted to tune in. We will warn you when we get to the spoiler part. We'll talk about what we liked, what we didn't like, give the film a rating, and then at the end, if you stay all the way through, we are going to rank all of the Daniel Craig James Bond films. Gentlemen, it's Friday. It feels good. How are you guys doing today?
Caffeinated.
All right, great.
I am also triple caffeinated. Yeah.
Oh, dang.
Ooh, explain. What does triple caffeinated mean?
It's 3 cups of coffee. Triple.
Oh, okay. I thought you were
it's
like
a lot easier than
triple shot of espresso.
yeah, like a bullet.
Shane's gonna wig out here in any moment. Just be prepared.
Just gonna see Shane like scratching his neck by the end of the video.
Is it hot? Is it hot here, guys?
There's plenty of time to die. Yeah, look at that segue. So I was lucky enough. I got to see this in a completely empty theater, which was fantastic. Really, really fun experience. I went at like 9 or 9:30 at night or something, and there was nobody there. But to get into the non-spoiler stuff, Shane, share your thoughts without giving everything away, and whether or not you'd recommend this film to somebody.
Oh boy. Okay. So I liked the performances from Daniel Craig and forget her first name, but Seydoux,
Leah Seydoux.
Female Leah Seydoux. I liked both of them. I liked their chemistry together. I loved Ana de Armas in this movie. She's not in it for very much. That's not, I mean, not really a spoiler, but she's not in it that much. However, the scene she is in is very well done, and she is great. Unfortunately, that's kind of where my praise for the movie ends.
Here we go.
I thought the plot was kind of a mess. It's a nearly 3-hour long movie, but it doesn't really know what it likes to focus on. I thought Rami Malek's villain was very underdeveloped. He's also not really in the movie that much. Surprising for as big of a name as he is, and kind of the hype going into the movie, and being that it's a very long movie, I expected a little bit more. We can talk about some of the reasons I didn't love the plot later.
We'll save that for spoilers.
Yeah, we'll save it for spoilers. But I will say that it's middle of the road for me on Craig Bond films. Like, I didn't dislike it. It was entertaining. It kept my engagement throughout the whole movie, and it didn't feel like it dragged, which is good for a nearly 3-hour movie. But I felt like they could have spent the runtime in other areas to make it a much better movie.
Okay. Would you recommend somebody to go check it out in theater?
If you like Bond, yes. And I would say definitely watch the prior ones before going in, because I hadn't seen Spectre in a long time, and it references that movie quite a bit. Yeah. So definitely, even if you weren't a big Spectre fan, I wasn't either. Definitely watch it again before seeing it, because it ties pretty directly into it. But if you like Bond, then yeah, you'll enjoy yourself. You'll see a good swan song for Daniel Craig as James Bond. And yeah, if you don't like James Bond, I don't think you're going to find a lot here that you'll love. Like, it doesn't stand on its own that well.
All right, Nick, argument. Go. Say the opposite. Do it.
Well, okay. So look, I totally agree. I think acting wise, all the performances were very well done, and I will agree with the sake of Rami Malek. I wanted him to be in the movie more than he is. So we'll talk a little bit more, obviously, in the spoiler section. But I think, obviously, in the parts that he was in the movie, I think he, obviously did a good job.
Yeah.
But I really liked the intro to the actual movie, just everything that happens, up until we get the Billie Eilish "No Time to Die" song, right?
And I thought the song was good too.
Great song.
Yeah, I
hadn't listened to it before.
Same.
Oh, cool.
It came out like a year ago, right?
It already won an Oscar.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I didn't know that. Like, I don't obviously listen to a lot of Billie Eilish, but I mean, I have nothing against her. Obviously, it's just not my style of music, I guess. But I was like, man, who is this? Because this is actually a really good Bond song, and it says like at the end of like the song No Time to Die by Billie Eilish. I was like, oh
Yeah.
wow, okay, I didn't know that. But I think you could feel the length of the movie, you know, which I didn't necessarily mind so much, but uh I'd say for the sake of being able to watch all of it, I didn't have to get up and like go to the bathroom at all in the theater when I saw it. And I had a large Coke Zero with me and some chocolate covered gluten free pretzels, you know, because that's healthy. But
For the gains.
yeah, you know, I needed to carb up, but you know, I really did enjoy the third act as well. I would say maybe if anything, the between the three acts, maybe the second act was probably the weakest of them all.
Yeah, I agree.
You
Yeah.
know, but uh I it's kind of like when like you were mentioning, Shane, having to see the other films before this, because it is like a five movie plot
Yeah.
For Daniel Craig's Bond, which is something we haven't seen before with the
Right.
Bond character. And I like the fact that they did this, but it's sort of like it makes you think afterwards. It's kind of like I was, you know, trying to non-spoiler chat with Cory or whoever it was, and I'm like, I just don't know where I would rank this because of, and we'll get to that, of course, later in this video, between some of the other Bond movies with Daniel Craig, because of just how they all impact one another, and it kind of just goes down the chain of story. But yeah, it was probably the best Bond finale for a character in the Bond universe. As a way to go out, like,
Yeah, I would
this
agree
is
there.
I'm done with my, you know, I'm done with this as my you know, in my career, you know, I'm done with this as a character. I'm not, you know, like compared to say Roger Moore, Sean Connery, Pierce Brosnan, right? Like their last movie was just like, that's it, their contract's done, or they're not playing any more Bond
Right.
movies,
Right,
you know. So but yeah, we'll get more of that in the spoilers.
Yeah.
What about you, Cory?
God, I don't know if I could say anything more than what you guys have said without diving into the spoilers too
I
much.
know, it sucks.
I thought it was a highly enjoyable blockbuster film.
Mhm.
I think if you go into it looking for something that's going to get nominated for things come award season, you're not going to be too thrilled. If you are a Bond fan, especially if you're a Daniel Craig Bond fan, you will very much enjoy this movie.
Yeah.
To me, and we talked about this a little bit on our live stream from Ted Lasso when we got off on a huge tangent after Shane left. Daniel Craig is my favorite James Bond by like a very, very, very large margin. So for me, I found this to be highly enjoyable. Performances were great. The Billie Eilish song is super slick. I love the way it segued in and out with the all the cool intro title cards, which to me that's almost like a mini movie of its own
Yeah.
Yeah.
in every Bond film at this point. So,
Yeah, it's a great little like artistic expression.
yeah. Villains, like you said, Shane, it almost felt like there didn't need to be villains in this movie, and we'll get into that a little bit in the spoiler section. But if you're interested in going to a theater and seeing a blockbuster, make it a point to go see it on like a large screen with a good sound system.
Oh, yeah.
Because it does have an impact. A lot of action, pretty much from start to finish, which is what all of these new Bond films have pretty much been. So that's it. Spoiler time. You have been warned. It is 8 minutes into the video. It's spoiler time. It's time to get into it.
It's spoiler time.
Nick, I'm going to start with you on the spoiler stuff because I want to save Shane's hate speech for the end.
We can just sandwich him.
Should we talk about the elephant in the room?
What's okay? Well, spoiler warning one more time. If you haven't seen this movie and you don't want to be spoiled, leave. Just go. Goodbye.
Yeah,
this is
careful.
I'm waving my hands. Spoilers. Spoiler wave. What's the elephant in the room, Shane? Go ahead.
James Bond dies.
Yeah.
Yeah, he does.
I did not think they were going to do that.
So I thought that was great because
I did too.
We are in a world where everything is in a franchise, whether it's Marvel or DC or Star Wars or all these shows on Netflix or whatever. Nothing ever ends.
Yeah.
This movie had a definitive ending for a character and a full closing of the book on an actor's run, which was fucking refreshing. Regardless of anything else that happened in the film, when they started setting up that stuff in the third act, where it really kind of looked like he was gonna go, I was like, they're gonna do this.
Yeah.
They're really, and then it happened, and I was like, great. And then in true like British fashion, there's like a minute and a half long scene after he dies, and then the credits roll, and it's like, all right, bye, get out.
Yeah.
Yep.
Which I thought was great.
Yeah.
So, go ahead, Nick.
I was gonna say, like, because it's obviously misleading to think that all he really wants to do is he just wants to have a life. Like he doesn't really want to be part of it. He just wants to be in love. And obviously he had a kid. But it's kind of like he says in the movie, my biggest regret and my mistake was putting you on that train. And it kind of like digs the dagger a little deeper because of what could have been. And instead of ditching her, he could have just stayed and then figured it out. She could have told him the truth, and then they could have possibly gotten ahead of this whole thing to the part where he. And again, I think it would have just been one of those he rides off into the sunset things, and it's still an ending for Bond for this 007. But instead he just gets killed, and he doesn't die. He gets fucking missiled.
Yeah.
Like that's a pretty brutal death. I mean, you've got a what is it, a battle cruiser or a carrier that launches long range missiles onto an island, and it's just they split off and then just rain down hell on the silos there. And obviously we know why, but it's, again, I'm like, that's he I think they just did it to ensure like there's no way he's going to survive that.
Right. Yeah.
But I mean, it was sad, like I think because like, I agree with Cory. Like he's probably one of my favorite. It's always a toss up between Daniel Craig or Sean Connery to me, but as far as like my favorite Bond, but I think because this is such a newer age of Bond, I've kind of taken to him a little bit better, or a little more than Sean Connery's Bond. But at that same time, it's like, damn, it's really over. Like we actually had a Bond that died in the field for the first time in what, 25, 30 something years, whatever, however long it's been, probably longer than that now, I think.
This 35? Is the 25th Bond movie.
25th Bond movie, that's right. So
I think it's closer to 50 years.
50 years, maybe? Yeah, you're right. Yeah, because Sean Connery was like super young at the time. So, but yeah, I get that whole first act in Italy. I mean, obviously, my love for Italy is immense. So just seeing more of it, but just the treachery that ensues when he goes to the grave, right? And you could tell something's wrong as soon as you saw the ring. I'm like, fun. Like, and of course he just blows up, and I'm just like, man, like, poor Vesper's grave. Yeah, and it just gets ruined in Italy. And it's kind of like his what's his face's his reach. I can't think of Christoph Waltz's character. Blofeld. Yeah, Blofeld's reach. It's just like, man's in like one of the most secure prisons ever, and he still was able to do this kind of crap. And I mean, not that I really would hold anything against the film for it happening that way, because I think in some cases you could have said, oh well, he planned it long ago. In the event that a route that Bond would ever go to this grave, this would be set there as like a luring trap, I guess. But up until again that the song sequence, I was like, man, oof. Like, especially being in like the AMC Dolby Theater that I was in, like the sound, just the everything, just like I was fully immersed in like being back in like an awesome theater with the Bond movie. And I love the Bond theme song too. Like, it's just so iconic. And again, I think the second act was just not as good as the first and the third act, but everything that leads up to him dying, like he almost escapes, right? And then the hatches start closing again, and I'm like, no, he's dying. He's definitely dying.
One thing that I didn't like about that is, like 5 minutes earlier, when they established the stakes of why the blast doors have to be open,
right? Is
they say that if the blast doors are closed, then it's going to bounce off the thing and not work, right? It's not going to destroy it. It's going to the missile strike will fail, right?
Right.
Then why didn't he just close the doors?
because the missile strike would fail.
Yeah.
Wasn't the whole idea that they were trying to destroy?
Right, but you already
Get
killed
in,
the
yeah.
bad guy.
Yeah, but the idea behind the government doing that strike is to take out. It's not a virus. It was clearly probably meant to be a virus before
right.
COVID happened, and now it's nanobots. But my whole thought was that the doors still needed to be open because the idea was just to nuke the entire island and get rid of all those things.
They talked about, like, if we only had more time, it's like, we could have.
Yeah.
Just close the blast doors, figure it out, and then do it again. Like, the bad guy is
Do it
neutralized
again.
now.
More nukes.
The bad guy is dead. The whole master plan is dead. Like,
Can we talk about
all those people are just minions at this point, right?
how great it was
Yeah.
when he just like put 3 bullets in Rami Malek, like
Yeah,
it
it's
didn't
great.
matter.
Yeah.
Because at the end of
Because he
Spectre,
couldn't.
he doesn't pull the trigger on Christoph
Right.
Waltz, and it's like a character moment for James
Right.
Bond. And in this one, he's just like, nah, fucking pop, 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 you're dead.
Yeah.
Yep. Yep.
All right, Nick, what else are you thinking on this one?
You know, I would have liked to see more Rami Malek. I enjoy him as an actor. You know, ever since oh god, I can't think of the
Mr.
show.
Robot?
Mr. Robot, man, I loved him in Mr. Robot.
That's his best role still by a long shot.
Yeah, God, he's so good in that. But yeah, I would like to see more of him because you see him in the very, very beginning. Granted, he's behind a mask, and you can kind of say, "Oh, that's Rami Malek," and then you don't see him until the end. I'm like, where was he in the middle? And I think the bad guy, right, isn't so much a character. It's like bad guys, but multiple. There's 2 fronts. You've got Spectre, and then you got Rami Malek's side. That's like, we're trying to stop Spectre because, you know, they killed my parents and they deserve to die. Like he's Inigo Montoya or something like that. Like, you know. And I'm like, so who are we pointing the gun at now? Because
I
it kind of
did not like that.
And then like Blofeld dies because again, because of the nanobots that didn't affect Bond but affected him. And I'm like, well, okay, well, I guess you finished your plan because, you know, that's that now. But
Spectre's gone. Right?
JK, I'm gonna kill the whole world now.
Yeah, right. Spectre's fully dead. So I'm just like, so wouldn't that be like mission complete? Like your vengeance is over.
Yeah.
But then it's like, but why stop there? why not just take out the whole bloody world? And I'm like, oh, so now you're the bad guy. Because it's almost like he was sort of like an anti-hero, right? Like
at the beginning, sure.
Yeah. And up until we're like, I mean, I could just sell it off and, you know, let these other countries and people come in and take it and sell it. And there's just like a giant pool of people in hazmat suits, like, you know, like, I don't know, nanobot farmers. I don't even know what the hell to call them. Like,
I don't know, man.
You know, but if
it's
you
like those
fell
people
in
that
it,
mine NFTs and shit, like Shane.
Yeah, you fall in it, you just disintegrate. So I'm like, well, it's highly toxic. All right,
Shane, if I fall into an NFT, will it kill me? I must know. Maybe. Okay. What about cryptocurrency?
If you panic sell,
if you hodl,
you'll be fine.
I will say there's like this little clip of Ana de Armas on Instagram floating around on some Instagram stories of her like training. But you know, she in the movie, I mean,
awesome.
She was fucking smoking.
Yeah,
she was smoking. I'm not even gonna lie. Fuck, man.
Yeah.
But she was badass, and I think that whole Cuba scene was really, really great. And I don't know about you guys, but at first I'm like, so they didn't retire the 007 number, and then he gets it back. I'm like, all right, so now is it retired finally, or what? So I don't know how I really feel about that. Like, it hasn't kind of just sunken in yet, but
I don't know. The banter was worth it between him and Lashana Lynch. I thought that was actually very fun.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, the banter behind it though was rather amusing, especially when it's like 007 Bond, and it's like,
oh, does that bother you?
Yeah.
He's in the office.
Do you need to ride?
Does that bother you?
Yeah. I mean, again, like, I think the banter was fine, but you know, I think in the event of you know, the stakes even then where they're kind of fighting each other, or you know, maybe butting heads in Cuba because they're kind of in different goals. You know, it did throw a different tension in the air, which was fine. but again, it's like that second act that just didn't really sit well because I feel like they could have fleshed out the story a little bit more between who the villain was, what the direction they're going in. Um, but yeah,
Yeah,
I'll chime in on what do you guys think though?
there's a lot of stuff in that second act that happens, but
Yeah,
there's a lot of stuff in the second act that doesn't really happen. Like it's stuff that happens on screen, but it's not really 100% pertinent or relevant
Yeah.
to the end game of the movie. Which Shane, I'm saving you for last. By the way, I'm cutting you in line.
I'm gonna destroy this movie. Get ready.
I'm more than ready for you to do that, and hopefully it keeps people watching longer than our average video.
Oh man.
So I thought it was funny that this is like the end for Daniel Craig, and then it kind of felt like Avengers Endgame type thing because it was almost 3 hours long. It had a 5-year time jump in it. The main character dies
after we just established that he has a daughter.
Right, exactly.
Right. He got Iron Man. I have that on my notes.
Oh,
he got
did you really?
Iron Man. Yes,
Iron Man.
That's great. It made me laugh. I was just like sitting there going, "Wow, they're really like." It's endgamey, but at the same time, it's not because Endgame, whereas everything ends, it also like hits the reset button and starts a whole bunch of new shit.
Yeah.
But, under my notes for what I liked, I thought the female characters were all fantastic. Ana de Armas, obviously, short and sweet in her role, but I thought she was fantastic. She did a great job with all the fight choreography and all that was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Lashana Lynch was a great foil to him as the new 007. She looked just as cool as any other 00 pulling up in an Aston Martin. And I really liked that Madeline's character is not like a typical Bond girl that he ends up truly falling in love with.
Right.
It's not just like the arm candy type thing that you saw back in the 60s and 70s with James Bond.
Yeah.
She's a doctor. Like if she wasn't born into this line of work because of her father, she'd probably be off being a doctor somewhere with a very normal life and being very successful, which I thought was cool. Daniel Craig, from the minute you meet him in Casino Royale all the way until the end of this, his character has a fully fleshed out arc, where when you meet him, he's all business and he's put guys down, bang as many chicks as he can, drink a lot of alcohol, whatever. And by the end, he's a guy who just wants to have like a normal life, and he finds out that he's got a family, and that's really the thing that matters the most to him by the very end, which I think is really neat. It's cool to see a James Bond that by the end isn't just kind of like a shitty human being that also happens to be a super spy. I thought the cinematography was
just solid. Yeah.
Outrageously good. I love the way they make these movies because they feel like older action films, because they're not, obviously there's some CGI involved because any modern movie is going to have CGI, but I think they try to go practical as much as they can, and that helps the film for me. It almost feels like an older style movie.
The
however,
cinematography of him going up those stairs was really nice because it was one shot, right? Where he's going up those rotating stairs, really claustrophobic.
And he goes into the one hallway and caps a couple guys, goes up, the door opens, and the camera kind of weaves in and out with him. But however, while that was cool, one of the detriments to the film, I was watching that and I was thinking to myself, it feels like they did that in John Wick like 4 or 5 years ago.
Yeah.
Right. And Shane, we kind of texted about this the other night with some of the modern, action spy type things that are out there nowadays. Where does Bond fit? And like, if you've seen like John Wick 3, the action stuff blows this out of the water.
It's top notch. Yeah.
The choreography is absolutely absurd in a movie like that. It makes you wonder, this movie didn't open as big as I think Skyfall was the biggest of the Craig movies box office wise. Maybe there's not as much of an audience for this. Maybe it's time for them to take a break for a few years, come back fresh with something new. I don't know. For my dislikes, villains not entirely fleshed out again. I thought Christoph Waltz was used better in this one than he was in Spectre, and the little box that they moved him down the little teeny tiny hallway in was hilarious to me.
It was.
The movie is a little on the long side. Like we kind of mentioned, it doesn't really feel super duper long, but it does drag a little bit in the second act. And then the score, aside from the main melody from the Billie Eilish song, I thought was kind of just like a typical action movie. However, every time Bond and Madeline would embrace or kiss or be close or something, they'd play the first couple notes from the Billie Eilish song in an orchestral setting.
Yeah.
And it was just like a nice callback every time. And I thought that was really cool.
Yeah.
So that's about it. That's what I got. Shane, you're up.
Oh,
The
God.
floor is yours.
Oh boy.
Time for you to Edwin Akufu on this movie.
So I'll comment a little bit on some of your points. The Hans Zimmer score, I thought, was a little derivative. And in the end of the movie, when he's like going up the stairs, and like there was one moment in particular where he like looks out over those like light beams, and like they were playing music that sounded exactly like it was out of The Dark Knight.
Yep.
And I was like, this is Hans Zimmer. Like it sounds exactly like a Hans Zimmer score.
Yeah.
And yeah, the score didn't really stand out to me except that moment where it was like, it almost felt too big. Like he was in this like little hallway, claustrophobic, and you're just like, bah, bah, bah. Just like, this is important.
Maybe Hans was just thinking about Dune already at that point and saving his
Possibly.
best stuff
Maybe
for that
so.
movie. Fingers crossed, hopefully. But
But
keep going.
But then you refer to like other films in this genre, and this is a really good point where it's like, this movie is not only not as good as some of the other Craig Bond films, but I would argue it's worse than others in its genre. So like if you look at Mission Impossible, the last two Mission Impossible movies were far better movies than this one was. John Wick is a better movie than this one is, I think. And so it's like when you're really comparing it, and like for a while, James Bond kind of stood on its own. There was nothing that really compared to it. And now you've got alternatives that are more compelling movies. And that's where it falls even more flat for me. I mean, like, I love Skyfall. Like, I think that's a top action movie. That's, spoiler in my rankings, that's going to be my number one for James Bond. But this one just, it felt kind of run of the mill, and it didn't really do anything innovative aside from maybe just fleshing out the character of James Bond, which other movies already did because they didn't have the James Bond baggage. Like, you already care about those characters because they're new characters. And, you know, Ethan Hunt has, you know, his ex-wife that he's trying to, all of that stuff.
Maybe he'll die next. I don't know.
I know, right?
He's got 2 more movies, right? I think
he will constantly be running from death.
He may also end up dying
runs
in like real life from the wild stunts that they do.
Yeah, it's true.
Playing, yeah.
Yeah, and that's another
Russian
thing where
roulette.
like the action in this movie didn't raise the bar for me. It's like your typical, you got your car chase, you know, you've got your hidden guns on the car. Whereas you look at movies like Mission Impossible and he's literally on the side of an airplane or jumping out of an airplane or something like that.
Or hanging off the Burj fucking Khalifa.
Right. And it's like that stuff is really innovative and interesting in an action movie. And James Bond felt like kind of more of the same. So from the action point of view, that's where I feel with that. The story is a mess. It's not well told. It felt like it focused too much on trying to tie all 5 films together than trying to make its own narrative, which works in a way, but then they kind of try and tack on the narrative in the 3rd act, and it just isn't really fleshed out. So like it takes the first half of the movie just to take out Spectre, right? So you've eliminated the enemy from the last one. Right. And then it's like, oh, by the way, here's this other bad guy. And then in the middle, we're going to throw in this, you know, Book of Mormon that he refers to him as, who's like this other ancillary bad guy that he has to take out too. And so it's like you've got like one kind of C-tier villain, Blofeld, and then like, oh, here's Rami Malek. He's also a villain. He's going to kill the whole world.
Right.
So that was a little weird. And as you mentioned, Rami Malek's motivations don't make any sense. Like the motivation for killing Spectre, total sense.
Right.
Killed his father, revenge, typical action, you know, plot, villain plot. And then he's just like, no, people want to be controlled, so I'm going to murder them with nanobots. And it's like they do that whole scene where it's like, it's gonna spread. It's a contagion, and the whole thing's gonna blow up. The whole world is in danger. And I'm like, okay, why?
Right.
Allow
he
me to
gives, like-
twirl my mustache.
Yeah,
For a few minutes
it's just
here.
not.
Well,
I've said this to Cory so many times that like genocide plots or like world-ending plots to me are very boring because you know that the world is not going to end. So where's the tension, right? And so I was looking for points of tension where they were going to bring up, and there were a couple that I thought were really good, but then they resolved them too quickly. So like a good point of tension is like Bond and the 007, how she's got his spot, right? And I thought they
Right.
were going to play a little bit more off of that rather than just quips.
Yes, but Marvel,
then-
Shane, Marvel has told you that quips are the best.
Yeah.
You need more quips in your movie.
Yeah, and like I liked the quips. The best quip, at least the one that had my theater laughing the most, where she's like, "Come here, I have to show you something," and she's like, "Is it another child?" James Bond is like, "Is it another kid?"
Yeah.
I liked that one. That was good. But he had a lot of good like one-liners in classic James Bond fashion.
Yeah, he did.
So that I felt like they could have played up that antagonistic relationship between them more, but it was like kind of after that one Cuba scene, they were kind of just coexisted.
Buddies to a
Yeah,
degree.
and like there was nothing about her being 007 that stopped James Bond from doing anything. So like it's not really that important aside from the number, which I guess could just be a pride thing. The other one where I really thought it was going to get interesting is when he kidnaps the kid and his girlfriend and kid. And I really thought that was going to be the tension that really drove the third act. And then like she breaks out and then he says, fuck off to the kid in like 5 minutes. Like there was nothing, like it felt like the Chewbacca scene where it's like, he's dead. Just kidding. He's not. Or it's like, hey, he's got him. Just kidding. He doesn't.
I'm
just
the spy.
like, yeah, it was very weird because it's like that little scene where he's got the daughter in his arms and, like is threatening James Bond and Bond wants to, get the kid. That was really interesting to me. And I think it would have been more interesting had they expressed earlier that he knows it's his kid. I felt like that was weird withholding that till the end.
Well, she tells him it's not yours, and he's
Right.
like, "Are you sure?"
Right.
He's like, she has blue eyes.
Like there's
He
no
says that, yeah.
downside. If anything, that amplifies the stakes more if you tell him, right? So I thought it was weird withholding that information as like a, just so you could have that line in the end where it's like, it's your daughter. And he's like, I know, and dies. Like, yeah, it would have upped the stakes even more if he knows. Or like we had a scene, it's kind of like The Dark Knight, where it's like, you got to choose your girlfriend or your daughter. And, that type of thing could have been really interesting because the stakes there are James Bond's love of his life and James Bond's daughter that he's just been acquainted with. So those are real stakes, not genocide of the whole world or whatever. And then also I want to talk about the nanobots. So we all think this was supposed to be a bioweapon, right?
Yeah.
And they changed
absolutely.
100%.
Yeah. They had to have, right?
Yeah.
Because it doesn't make any sense as nanobots, primarily because the one thing that could have stopped the nanobots, right? If he was infected with nanobots, what could kill it?
EMP.
An EMP watch, right?
Yeah.
That kills the guy's eyepiece, but not his earpiece.
He had one.
He had one. It was fucking
He had one. He had the EMP watch. I thought that's where they were going to go with it. It's like they're nanobots. He has the EMP
held
watch.
it to his face.
Yes.
And just boom.
Yes. So that to me reeks of something where it's like, okay, this is actually supposed to be a virus, and they just ADR'd over it.
And it's a super easy ADR because all you have to do is, instead of saying virus, say nano. It's literally a one-word change.
Right.
None of the visuals have to change except for like the little strand of DNA type thing.
Right.
Not even really. You just shade it a little bit differently, and it looks like the nanobots and not a virus. But I really feel like that was probably something. And Shane, I told you it's the same thing that happened to Falcon and Winter Soldier on Disney Plus. The whole first act of that show, so like the first 2 full episodes, were supposed to be about them stopping a virus from getting released out in the world, and Disney kiboshed it when the pandemic happened. it seems like a pretty safe bet
Right.
that's what happened here.
And they
too.
also like were farming them. Like if they were nanobots, you'd be
Yeah.
like assembling them, right? Like
You-
why
Yeah,
are they
with
in
It
this
would
like
be
computers and
more.
shit.
It would
it's
be more
like acid
computer.
water and like they're
Yeah.
all dressed in the stuff. Like that doesn't make any sense. And in the very first part of the movie where they like go to capture the nanobots, they're making jokes about smallpox. So it's like it's a
Yep.
disease laboratory.
Yep.
Right?
Yep. Yep. They should have just fucking kept it. Like
I think they should have too.
like,
it makes a lot
like,
more sense.
it does. Like, oh, it's too sensitive. Like, who the fuck cares? Like, I mean, viruses
Bioweapons
have been around for
in
fucking
action
hundreds of.
movies. Yeah.
They've been around for hundreds of years. This isn't the first virus movie that we've gotten. I mean,
Right.
it won't be the last. Like,
Right.
if anything, it just made your plot even worse, and
Right.
it made parts of the story just not make sense, not
Yep.
fully aligned, and like again, it's like I don't know, man. Like it's a shitty attempt to just cover it up.
Yeah.
This is a movie that is okay with the British government dropping nuclear bombs on an island.
Yeah.
But they're not okay with the
Yeah.
bad guy wanting to release a viral contagion as part of his mustache twirling evil plot. Like that doesn't make sense.
Can we also talk about how much of a moron M is in this movie?
Yeah,
like
he
M stands for
declined.
moron. Like he's like, I never would have thought it could have been used as a bioweapon. Are you sure?
All right, Mallory.
How would you not have thought that? It's
Mallory.
a
Well done,
DNA
Draco.
based
Well done.
like silent killer. What?
Isn't that like Mallory Archer, right? Like,
Yeah.
see the connection there?
Yeah.
Not the world's greatest spy. But no, can we also talk about Felix dying? R.I.P.
He died the same way as Vesper.
R.I.P. Jeffrey Wright.
Did you catch that little callback?
Yeah, him just like
Floating away. Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't like that he died, but I
didn't
like
either.
that they brought him back because I like Jeffrey
Yeah.
Wright.
Yeah.
I thought that whether it's to the film's detriment or not, I thought it was respectful of them to include a little bit of all of the other films in this one because
Yeah,
it is this movie is kind of more of a celebration of Daniel Craig as James Bond than it is its own movie, right? So you've got
To its detriment. Yeah.
Right, you've got the grave with Vesper. You've got the callback to Mr. White, and his daughter is Madeline. They mention Silva in it. He's part of Spectre. Obviously, Blofeld is in. Like, there's a lot of stuff that all kind of just brings it all together. But yeah, I don't know if it ended up.
There's
fully
a picture
being
of Judi Dench as M as well, and I thought it was kind of funny when Mallory's like, "So you started working for the CIA, Bond?" It's like, you fucking replaced me with someone else. So yeah, I did.
And
dick.
you unleashed a bioweapon on the world.
Yeah.
With no antidote? What?
In between movies, your brain.
You don't have a kill switch for that?
Yeah. You don't have
How do you not have a kill switch for your like electronic nanorobots? Also, there was a movie in the early 2000s with Frankie Muniz called Agent Cody Banks. And
Sounds
the weapon
familiar.
for the bad guy in that movie was nanobots that would eat skin. Like, that was the whole subplot. And the whole time I kept thinking, like, holy shit, they just took this from Agent Cody Banks.
Wow.
Well, they took from Goldmember in Spectre. So, I mean, there is no bar as far as
the spy movie. It all works together, right?
Sure, why not? Fuck it. Who cares? All right. Do you have anything else you'd like to poop on? Or
No, I think I've said my piece.
All right, fair enough. But like we joke and we like to say we're going to argue. We don't really care to argue here. You bring up valid points. They're valid criticisms. It's not just like you went in and blindly said I hated the movie because X.
I wanted to like it.
Sure, and I think you said you didn't dislike it.
No,
it just wasn't.
It held my interest.
Right.
Sure.
There were major issues with the script and story, but it was still enjoyable. As a I like all the Craig Bond films, and I thought they put on good performances, and the death scene at the end was unexpected, and so that was kind of interesting. But
and brutal.
Yeah,
very.
It felt like the opening to Star Trek 2009, where Hemsworth is talking to his wife and child. It's like, he has your eyes. Boom.
Bye. It kind of reminded me a little bit of the end of Rogue One too.
Yeah.
That sort of stuff just like fades to white and they're wiped out. But all right, so let's rank the Daniel Craig James Bond films. Nick, I'll start with you. So from top to bottom, favorite to least favorite. The truth. Here we go.
Man, I've been toying around this since we last spoke about it. Between it's like a coin toss between Casino Royale and Skyfall, but I think when I last watched it, a year ago, Skyfall just really hit for a lot of reasons. So yeah, I might put Skyfall, Casino, No Time to Die, Spectre, Quantum of Solace.
I watched your hand go way far down.
Yeah, past the camera. That's why I just wanted to make it put the emphasis as to how bad it was.
I think all of our lists are going to be identical.
Yep, that's my list.
That's mine too. So that made this video a lot shorter. I was going to slot in having myself stabbed in the eyeballs and ear holes with an ice pick in between Spectre
and then Quantum of Solace. Yeah,
but I think it's probably best to just omit that. And
I have about 80 spaces between Spectre and Quantum of Solace.
Yeah, I rewatched the Craig Bond films before watching No Time to Die, except for Quantum of Solace, because
it's terrible.
You didn't need to, honestly.
Yeah, it has a cool car chase at the beginning, and that's pretty much about where that starts and stops. So I do flip flop though on Skyfall and Casino Royale sometimes.
Yeah, Skyfall always gets the edge for me because the cinematography is gorgeous. It's just that whole movie is just beautiful, and like that scene where they're fighting in front of the LED panels is so good.
Mm-hmm. You haven't seen Shang-Chi yet, have you?
No, I haven't. Does it have fighting in
it
front
has
of the LED
a very
panels?
Similar type fight scene in it, which is cool. But Skyfall, that shot where he's riding in on the boat in the tuxedo with the lanterns around him, that's like peak James Bond for me.
It's so cool. Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
That's like the epitome of James Bond right there.
Yep.
So I think when you're trying to cast for the future of James Bond, you got to find someone that can actually pull that off for multiple reasons. Like they've got to fit that, fill those shoes and fit that whole vibe and feel.
I'd be interested if they picked kind of a smarter Bond for the next one. And because like Craig was more of the action hero, like the brawn of the battle, right? I'd be interested to see if they pick somebody that's a little bit like uses his head a little bit more, just to kind of mix up the formula.
Yeah, I agree. Like I forgot. I think Shane or Cory, one of you guys said it, but I think they need to take like a 5-year gap. And they need to lay off Bond for a while, because I agree. In terms of spy movies and action movies, like there are other ones out there that have recently come out that are better. And it's even like, again, sitting in the bar for your own Bond franchise. What are you going to compare it to? Especially if you're going to have the same actor portray this, like, this character for multiple movies. So yeah, I don't want to see another Bond movie for like 5 years.
Yeah,
sorry.
And then go hire Christopher McQuarrie to do it, and you're all set. Poach him.
Man knows what he's doing with those Mission Impossible movies.
Yeah.
I think I also saw something online where Denny said that he'd love to do a Bond movie, but he has to make part 2 to Dune before he's allowed to do literally anything else.
And again, 5 years would allow him to do that, so that works perfectly. Yeah, exactly.
Denny had said he'd love to. Obviously, Christopher Nolan's a huge Bond nerd, so you figure he'd go after something like that. And
he's free to do what he wants, right?
True.
Because he's no longer tied to WB.
Yeah, he's doing a film with Universal Pictures about the creation of the nuclear bomb that Cillian Murphy's going to be the star of. And outside of that,
again, remember what I said? Cillian Murphy is as a Bond. Smarter Bond.
However, I did see something today where Michael Caine said that he's retiring from acting.
Yes, yes, I saw
which
that.
means that Christopher Nolan
what's he
curled
gonna do?
Up in the fetal position, crying and throwing up at the same exact time right now
because he can't use him anymore.
Michael Caine is gone.
So
my name is Michael Caine.
To close off this review, I have to read you this comment that I saw on Reddit. In the movie,
the best place on the internet.
But it just ties in so well to what we were just talking about, and I think this would be perfect to close on. Jason Anarchy says, half expected an after credit scene where Bond is having coffee with Catwoman in Italy.
Oh man,
God.
you know what I thought would have been hilarious, because it's like, so I can still see her, I just can't touch her. Like,
Just like through the window.
right? Like they could have.
It's like Rogue from the X-Men.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
just so he wears gloves. I mean, they
Block
can't
the
do
missiles and like, you know, put him on a Zoom call, and then it'd be really pandemic. Like,
Just
aware.
jump off, just jump out in the ocean, swim underwater, and you're fine.
Yeah.
You know?
I don't know if that would work, because James Bond might be the horniest character in the history of cinema. And if he couldn't touch his lady, it would be a very bad go for him.
At least it'd be time for him to find out. You know what I mean? Like he could wait 5 years and
no time to bang.
Hey,
Could call the movie anyway. All right, I think that's
5.2.
I think that's going to do it for this video. Really fast, a number out of 10 with no extra nonsense attached to it. Nick.
I don't want to do. I don't want to go IGN. Fuck. Come back to me.
All right, Shane.
6.
I'm going 7.5.
I was gonna say 7.1.
All right, fair. Good stuff. That'll do it for this one, folks. Love to hear your thoughts. Drop us a comment below. Let us know what you think. Were you happy with the end of the Daniel Craig run? And which Bond film is your favorite? Let us know in the comments. We'll respond to everyone that comes through. If you want to support this channel, like this video, subscribe to the channel. We're doing a great job moving on our way to our new goal of 1,000 subscribers, but we need your help to do so. So whether it's a gentle tap, a modest click, or a Hulk smash on that subscribe button, please go ahead and click it. If you want to follow us on social media, we are on Twitter and Instagram at Real Heroes Show. We've also got plenty of videos coming up. I've got a handful of 4K reviews that I've been far too lazy to do that I'm going to get through this weekend. We're going to review Halloween Kills, I think, here on the channel. We've got Foundation moving to our Monday slot now that Ted Lasso is done for the year. So plenty of stuff to be on the lookout for. So stay tuned, check all those out, and we'll see you guys in the next video.
Send a British missile strike onto the subscribe button, please.
Michael Caine says cheers.
You're both fired. Goodbye, everybody.